All right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. How are you all feeling? What's up, YouTubers? Good to see you all here. Sweet Leaf, how you doing? Rockfinners, we are live on Rockfin. How y'all doing, Rockfin people? And we are live on Callin. We got somebody listening on Callin. I imagine a few more will trickle in on this Saturday afternoon. Good to see y'all here. All right. Well, let's jump into it. There's always a lot to cover. There's always a lot going down. Oop, did I miss this one? Oh, I guess not. That's weird. All right. Let's start with this from EUMP. This is Mick Wallace. Just a moment while I get the sound going. He's talking about he is talking about the war. Here we go. He's talking about the war in Ukraine, but he's also talking about how it affects climate change. So this is an interesting intersection. It's intersectional. And there are people in the European Parliament who are vocal about the wrong that is happening in the world. There's some very outspoken voices. Not necessarily what we have, unfortunately, in the U.S. Those outspoken voices are known to be disingenuous, not willing to really hold power accountable, not in real ways. So they use the jargon of caring about you, but then when it comes down to it, and then if people actually question them about it, they start going, "Hey, speak up there. I can't hear you." They've shown themselves to be fraudulent. So this is from Revolutionary Blackout Network. This is what the left in Europe looks like while the squad votes to arm Nazis.
Is there something special about the military sector that makes its emissions not matter? Since the reporting of military emissions is voluntary, it doesn't happen. It only begs the question, why are we hiding the climate impact of the military-industrial complex from public knowledge? Estimates put the military sector at around 6% of all global CO2 emissions. 6%. Just remember that the global aviation is responsible for 2.5%. And the whole of Africa, with 1.2 billion, is responsible for 4. And yet, we never talk about what the military is damage that they're doing. We tell ordinary people to turn their lights off and say nothing to the military-industrial complex. What about demilitarization? What about peace? Did anyone spare a thought about the climate impact of shoveling over 3 billion into Ukraine's war assistance? What country did a climate impact assessment when increasing their military budget? Without peace, we will not have a stable climate. War is a climate change steroid, and many people in here seem to be hooked on it.
Mick Wallace breaking it down for us correctly. There's always money for war. There's always money for the military industrial complex. They don't have to report their emissions. They're not required. My oh my, climate change is a serious issue. But we got this little war to wage. You know what I'm saying? And if you really were concerned about climate change, then peace would be the first step, right? There's going to be a global concern for climate change, then the countries of the world have to unite and work together to have, first of all, have peace by any means necessary. Peace has to be the first answer. War has to be the absolute last, result. Last option. Because, if we're going to not destroy the planet, we're going to have to be at peace. The planet's going to have to be in some kind of stability politically in order to do that. And then you're going to have to, you're going to have to chop down those military budgets. You're going to have to, understand that this, all that we're doing for the military is all that we're doing against the planet. And we also have to, you start talking about things like that, you start realizing what a big problem it is. But then you have to actually condition people or allow people to think, maybe we don't need to be scared of the bad guys and build up huge arsenals of military hardware because the bad guys are going to, maybe we don't have to do that. Maybe we don't have to think that way. Maybe it's not naive or childlike to think like, we don't have to, we don't have to prepare for war. They're not preparing for war. We're not preparing for war. We keep our word. They keep our word. They keep their word, excuse me. And we live, honorably and, with trust with others on the planet. I mean, that is not my, that's not like, oh my God. People act like, grow up. No, actually, that's what grown-ups think. That's how grown-ups operate. With honor. The children are the ones that are the maniacs that are trying to tell you that this is all, this is for the good of people and democracy and planet. Meanwhile, they're making, multi-billion-dollar arms deals. Those are the children. Those are the children. Those are the children. Those are not the adults. Those are the children that somehow have been left in charge. Max Sarge with a good quote: "When the power of love overcomes the love for power, the world will know peace." Jimi Hendrix. G. Demarest: "If there is no peace, the prevention of further anthropogenic climate change has no hope." Yeah. Jay Brandt: "Funny how humans find life affirming so challenging." All right. You can follow me at Twitter, Black Bear News 1, the number 1. Follow me if you dare. All right. Got some more folks here on Rockfin. How you doing? Eventually we'll be moving to Rockfin later in the show, so Just a heads up for the people on the YouTubes. All right. Let's keep going. From extreme temperatures. China, there's more heat waves in China. Heat is intensifying today with temperatures reaching 35.6 C at Pingnan and Guangxi province and 35.3 C at Xiaoling in the Guangdong province. Total of 6 stations reached 35 C today, and more will reach it tomorrow. The wacky weather continues. This is from Climate Watcher. This is a riverbed, Fraser River, Prince George, British Columbia, about as dry as it gets. That's what it's looking like in British Columbia. And that it's not looking good. The planet is not looking good when so many rivers, and major rivers at that, are running very low. That's should be concerning. And this from the professor. Bodies of water all over North America are drying up as a result of drought and a decrease in precipitation. All at once. That Dr. Evil guy is busy. This is from ABC News. Riverbeds that used to be covered in ample water are now dehydrated by drought. Bodies of water all over North America are drying up as a result of drought. Earlier this year, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration predicted that the 22-year mega drought affecting the West would not only intensify, but also move eastward. Yikes. That prediction appears to be coming into fruition, with about 82% of the continental U.S. currently showing conditions between abnormally dry and exceptional drought, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor. While the U.S. and North America continue to witness water levels dropping in crucial rivers, lakes, and reservoirs, a mixture of climate change and poor water management policies are causing similar events all over the world. Rivers all over the world are running really low, especially the Tigris and Euphrates River in Iraq. Birthplace of civilization, as it might be called. Also, the birthplace of climate change. When humans agricultured themselves out of agriculture there, as well as significant bodies of water in countries like Italy, Romania, France, and China. Jonathan Deason, professor of the Environmental and Energy Management Program at George Washington University. The expert said that a two-pronged approach that includes climate change mitigation and better water management policies will be crucial as bodies of water continue to dry up. But so much damage has already been done that even drastic improvements or reductions in emissions will not immediately impact reducing the stress on water levels, they said. Anyways, and they just go through. The Great Salt Lake is continuing to shrink. The Mississippi River, of course, we know about. Lack of snow melt to replenish the Platte River. Platte goes through what, Nebraska, Colorado. Hold on, sorry guys for the. Wow, that's amazing. This is in Highway 81 in Nebraska, going over the Platte River, which is looking mighty dry. Wow. Supplies of drinking water continue to dwindle in the West. This is Lake Mead. Okay. Where is this going to go? Where will this end? I don't know. Sele, sorry, on Colin. I'm just getting this link here.
But I hope you will become a member at leecamp.net.
Sorry, Lee Camp. This is in Argentina. Fires ravage Iberra. Wetlands causing incalculable damage. Thanks for the link, Sele. All right. Oh, we got somebody calling. All right, we'll take a call. How you doing, Sele?
That's very quick to explain. Wetlands are essential to control humidity here. So
Sure.
when there is floods, they soak it so it won't damage. And when there is drought, they let this water that has been there for like maybe a year or so, they let it go. So they are essential to control, right? It's a self-control of the environment. Like when there is drought, you still can cultivate and plant things, and it's not damaging, or it mitigates a lot of the damage. So if wetlands are not there, you don't just have drought, but you also have these big floods because there's nothing there to absorb the excess
Right.
of water.
Right.
So it's damaging both ways, and they are like setting fire on purpose. So it's very, very sad.
Yeah.
Just
I'm sorry to hear that. Well, it seems to be happening. It seems to be happening all over. But yeah.
Yes, exactly. No, also Amazonas as well, and so yeah, I just wanted to comment on that. That is making situations worse. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thanks, Ellie. Well, let's move over to Nigeria, where they had massive flooding. This was a few days ago. More than 600 killed in Nigeria's worst flooding in a decade. According to the ministry, more than 2 million people have been affected by flooding that has spread across parts of the country south after a particularly wet, rainy season. While many parts of Nigeria are prone to yearly floods, flooding in certain areas has been more severe than the last major floods in 2012, a Red Cross official said. Nigeria's Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Sadiya Umar Farouk, warned Sunday that more flooding was likely and urged regional governments to prepare accordingly. Floods, and more floods. And Peter Dines said nearly 2 million have been displaced by flooding in Nigeria alone. Climate refugee is a term that's going to become a lot more common very soon. This is from Poppy Davis from earth.com. Past AMOC collapses. were caused by warming of ocean subsurface and reduction of surface salinity due to icebergs separating from glaciers into the sea. I mean, this is not new news. We've covered the same story, or versions of this story over the last few years. And if that current collapses, then we'll just see more escalating, damages, knock-on effects, tipping points, domino effects. According to scientists, the AMOC collapsed several times during the last glacial period, causing torrential increases in rainfall in northeast Brazil and a sharp drop in rainfall in Venezuela, the north of Amazonia, and tropical areas of North Africa and Asia. By discovering the North Atlantic subsurface warming preceded the massive release of icebergs from the U.S. and Canada into the Atlantic Ocean, the scientists were able to establish a sequence of events responsible for AMOC's past collapse. So another groovy thing that's happening on the planet because of climate change. The professor posting this story, kind of, I think we talked about this the other day, or we've been talking about this lately. Climate change tweets declined as COVID worries rose. So during the last few years, we were talking about an article where, people care less about climate change. I could care less. Because other more immediate issues are taking the space, right? Taking up the bandwidth. And so I'm just playing with these things. Which way is it? I thought this was kind of cool. Yeah. These more urgent, pressing, kind of survival matters. Immediate survival will take the place. But, eventually climate change will become something that brings awareness of immediate survival to you. So it won't be long. It's already happening to some people, right? People that have to leave the place real fast because of a hurricane or floods. People who lost their homes because of floods or wildfires or, whatever. Maybe your tap water goes dry because the reservoir that pumped all your tap water to you in your desert arid climate suddenly dried up and you don't have any drinking water. Like that would become a survival issue. And then people will be like, well, what about this climate change? But yeah, there's only as he says here, there's a finite pool of worry. So when people are worried about inflation or their job or war, they don't have time to think about, well, what about climate change? And some people actually mock people for thinking about climate change. Oh my God. Okay, we're going to take this call from Fantomas. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I noticed you mentioned RBN, and I just wanted to tell you that the RBN summit, I've been listening to a little bit of it today.
Uh-huh.
So after the show, you should probably, if anyone here is listening, you should probably listen. If you want to hear, there's one at 8:00 that's going to be about water. So you might want to check that out.
I had no idea about that this was going on. Thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah. I mean, the great thing is even though you missed it, there's lots of different panels for people that might want to tune in. One of the things that interested me was the talk about the T-Mobile unions and the different unions from the phone companies that are springing up all over America right now.
Yeah.
And that's important because that talks about like we're in the new world now, so now we have to figure out how we're gonna live in it, rather than just talking about, oh, this is coming, and
Right.
this is coming. That's the next step. So that's the reason why I like RBN. And for those people who don't know about RBN, this is just going to be like a little short plug, but they've been doing a summit every year where they get a panel of people on lots of different issues on what the game plan will be for the next year, or say the next few months. So those kind of things are good to hear, because what it does is it instills a lot of people to educate themselves. One of the things that they mentioned that I thought was really interesting, and I think is probably the detriment to the left and to the right maybe as well, is the fact that they say when you suggest to learn about something, they tell you to go get a book and read on that.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
problem with that is a lot of people aren't just going to read a book and absorb that. There needs to be lessons, and there needs to be actual interactivity within the book learning, and even some have to be read to. So the point of me bringing all of this up is the fact that a lot of the stuff that we are learning about, we need to continue to network and continue to talk about it. But then there also needs to be, like what you and me talked about, Kev, which is one of the reasons why I like Revolutionary Blackout, is because they're doing something about it. They're building infrastructure. They have plans for, building libraries, shit like that.
That's cool. Yeah, that's great. That's amazing. Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, I think the real thing about it is that when you look into what the everyday politician is telling you, like what you say from Mick Wallace's standpoint, or from you look at what's happening in Washington, D.C., all that money is just going someplace else. And that's the conversation we need to have. Like, what could we be doing? And we talked about this as well. What could we be doing with that money?
Right. Exactly.
All of that money that we give to electoral politics, what could we be doing with it? What would we be building? What would our infrastructure look like? How would we be helping the planet? Those kind of things.
Right. Well, it's amazing to me too when you brought up, like, when people throw around billions of dollars, like you have to understand how much $1 billion is. Like $1 billion is a shit ton of money. Like that's a lot of money. And so when they say, we sent $3 billion over here, I'm like, it doesn't cost that much money. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Right. Even to develop a vaccine, or $3 billion to go administer vaccines to children in Africa, like it doesn't cost that much money. No, hell no. It probably costs a couple of $1 million, and somebody else is taking that money and greasing, whatever, pocketing it, moving it to an offshore account, greasing the, whatever it is. Like there's so much money just sloshing around, and it's like, Jesus, it's amazing.
This is why I don't believe the grift in the entertainment industry as well. When they say, "Oh, we spent this much amount of money," like you got 10 production companies on your film roster. I think you guys are probably making a lot more than you say you are. If you have 10 production companies before we even hit the title credits,
right?
I mean, my God,
right. Yeah, I just
and
it's the amount of money that is, I mean, like I really like the term money laundering for the amount of money that's going out to other whatever concerns. We'll just call them concerns. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't cost all that much money. Somebody's taking a lot of that money and doing something with it. And it's just, I'd like to know where it's going, but I'd also like to stop it from going there and going, if you've got that much money to throw around, certainly, what is only a couple, they say it only costs a couple $1 billion to cure homelessness in the U.S.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it costs that much. I think that's a gross overestimation. Like, I think it costs, it doesn't cost that much to cure homelessness in the U.S. Like, not even. So I don't know. Anyways,
One last thing. Did we talk about the Shantaram show at all, or if we
no.
talked about that? So Shantaram is a new show with the person who played Jax Teller on Sons of Anarchy, and it's on Apple. And so what it's about this prisoner who escaped from prison, and he has to live in India. So he lives in India, but he can't get, but he doesn't want to do like the hustling, the drug dealing, and the pimp work or whatever it was in Bombay in the 80s or 70s at the time of the show that was taken. But so he decides to become like this in-house medic for people in the tent cities.
Uh-huh.
And what's really interesting about it is I keep looking at these tent cities and I keep thinking about like, yes, you do have them in California, but I keep wondering, is this going to be the future of America that we're looking at? Will all just 10 cities across everywhere?
I mean, it's going that in that direction for sure.
Yeah.
Unless something, reverses the course that we're on. For sure. For sure.
So I just wanted to, if you guys have time, check that show out called Shantaram. And by the way, if you're listening now and you're new to the program and you're just like, oh, I want to call in, hop on callin.com and call in, and it's as easy as heck, and you should do it.
All right, cool. Thanks, Fantomas.
All right, later.
Yeah, I'm showing the Revolutionary Blackout Network now, Activist Summit. So Revolutionary Blackout Network, you can find their page on Twitter if you want to check the summit out. I didn't even know it was happening, and I follow Revolutionary Blackout Network. I don't know why I didn't see these. Anyways, so you can go there and watch these shows if you are of the mind. Yeah, right. What Gene said, if they stop paying for so many people to be in prison, right? Like, it's more profitable to put homeless, drug-addicted people in prison than it is to actually give them homes and help them live a better life. All right. Let's keep going. Oh, first of all, let's go check the Buy Me a Coffee page. We haven't got any coffees yet this show. A good way to support the channel is buymeacoffee.com/blackbearnews. Haven't got any Rockfin tips yet. That's also another good way to support the show. Or subscribing to Rockfin and endorsing Black Bear News. That's a good thing to do. All right. Or the Cash App address, which is on the screen. You can also hit me there. All right. Where are we? The show has flown by, as they usually do. Trying to get into some other news. There was another, I don't know. I'm about 50-50 on the food processing plant on fire story. You know what I'm talking about, right? But it does seem like there are quite a few food processing plants that are catching on fire. It seems to be like a lot, or maybe people are just focusing on it. Maybe it's just like it happens and people are focusing on it so much so it looks like it's a lot. I can't really decipher myself, but I think that there have been an extraordinary amount of food processing or distribution plants that have caught fire in the last year. I don't know what it means. I don't know who's doing it. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know what's causing it. Massive food processing plant on fire in Poland. And Wall Street Silver thinks the WEF is behind it. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe. This is interesting. It is a very interesting Twitter post that I wanted to bring to your attention because they're talking about depression And there's been a lot of talk about depression and treating it with pills or antidepressants and blah blah blah, and how that might not be good. So this is Carnivore Aurelius, who says, why is nobody talking about how just 125 to 300 milligrams of magnesium per meal reversed depression in just 7 days? This is from a study. Magnesium is incredibly cheap and has little to no side effects. So I guess this is from a study that is saying that magnesium can cure this depression. Magnesium was also found effective for treatment of depression and general use, related and accompanying mental illnesses in these case histories, including traumatic brain injury, headache, suicidal ideation, anxiety, irritability, insomnia, postpartum depression, cocaine, alcohol and tobacco abuse. Hypersensitivity to calcium, short-term memory loss, and IQ loss were also benefited. Dietary deficiencies of magnesium coupled with excess calcium and stress may cause many cases of other related symptoms, including agitation, anxiety, irritability, confusion, asthenia, I don't know what that is, sleeplessness, headache, delirium, hallucinations, and hyper-excitability. So just, putting it out there. I don't know. If guys are hip to magnesium. Hyper-excitability. You, sir, I do not like your hyper-excitability. Please bring it down. Have some magnesium. All right. Just wanted to shout that out. I thought that was interesting. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off YouTube and finish the rest of the show there. Thank you, YouTubers, for hanging out. Please go to rockfin.com or callin.com, and you can listen. You can call in on Callin. You can listen on Rockfin. Check me out on Rockfin, and we'll finish the show there, and I'll see you tomorrow. YouTubers, letting you know tomorrow I am not. There's going to be no show tomorrow. We'll be back on Monday at the usual time of 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight. So I'll see YouTubers on Monday.